A lot of times beginners want to start turning bowls, but I find it's a whole lot better off if they build the foundation skills to turn those three basic cuts, a bead, a cove, and a flat area, and also learn the three fundamentals of sharp tools, cutting with the grain, and then anchoring the tool, riding the bevel, and controlling the cut. And with those foundations, it makes it a lot easier for you to transition to any kind of turning, including bowl turning. And those foundations are best learned by doing spindle turning. One of the reasons it's safer, it also takes a lot less wood because you can cut up turning squares about 10 inches long out of a 2x4, or you can buy a piece of poplar from your lumber yard and cut it into squares. You can buy 8/4. It'll be a little bit thicker than the 2x4, but not much. And both of them will work free. Even free bowl wood is not free because there's some sweat equity. So we want to master those skills in this exercise that I'm going to show you today. Hi, I'm Mike Peace, Mike Peace Woodturning, and I'm here to share with you tips, tricks, and techniques to help you become a better wood turner. So if that's what you're interested in, click on the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. These are cheap because you can cut about 20 of them out of a typical 2x4. First thing you do, mark centers. There's several ways. One is you anchor your finger, come around and make it a smaller square. It's possible when you rip these they weren't perfectly square. You can either use an awl then and get in the middle of it like this. I prefer to just get in the habit of visualizing the line coming through and crossing here and then using a center punch. And the more you practice, the better you get at it. Okay, of course the other way to mark centers, use a center finder of one kind. But I find this takes a little while, and you have to go around, fumbling with it here. You have to go around all four sides unless it's perfectly milled. Because if it's a bit of a tripod, if it's a bit of a rectangle, and then that marks center. Now, we need a drive center. Generally what comes with it is something like this with 4 spurs. Generally 2 prongs are a little easier to tap in, but they're usually an accessory. But, alright, so we're going to hammer this in, and it doesn't make any difference exactly where you put it, it's going to come across grain. Hammer it either on a workbench or on the bed of your lathe over the strong area where the legs go. You don't want to put it in the middle where there might be a weakness. And then we're going to tap it. So use a mallet, don't use a hammer because it will mushroom this and damage it, but just make a mallet, which is a separate good project. And then you can put it in. You can't hammer it on your lathe or you're going to wind up damaging the bearings. Then we're going to bring it up using your live center and bring it in with enough pressure to hold it. And now we're ready to go. First thing we're going to do is turn this round. Okay, so we got it between centers. Now we're going to turn it round. You can turn a spindle blank round with lots of different tools, but the spindle rough and gouge is by far the most efficient. It's got a shape like a U, and it's ground flat. And for this size blank, you want to get the speed up to maybe 2,000. Maybe go a little faster once it's round, and you're just going to anchor the tool, ride the bevel, lift the handle until you get shavings, and then move in the direction of the flute. Alright, keep in mind what we call the turner's dance. Whenever possible, you want to anchor the tool on your hip, and your body does the work. You're standing upright, then you just slide back and forth with your shoulders at an even keel. As opposed to doing this number here where you have less control. So the key to developing developing those turning skills is repetition and practice, and it's a lot like music, playing a musical instrument. You just don't pick up a musical instrument and even if you want to and play a song, and this is the same way. So we're going to be developing our scales, so to speak, with these beads and coves board. We're going to use a storyboard to mark it out. You don't have to. You could use a ruler, but this makes it a lot faster. And if you're going to practice, do a lot of, make this little beads and coves board out of something thinner than a 1/4 inch, as shown in this picture. And then we're just going to mark off these 1/4 inch beads. You've got little V's. You can just, once you mark the 1/4 inch on your board, use a little file for the corner. And then obviously you're going to turn this thing by hand, mark each one, and so on all the way to the end. First thing we're going to do is make V-cuts similar to this. On this particular stock, you want to go down at least a 1/4 inch, probably no more than a 3/8 inch. And you're going to use the long point of the V. So you got the heel, what they call the toe, or the long point. And so it's toe down, and make these V-cuts. I know a lot of people are frightened of a skew, but this is just not a difficult cut, and it's a cut that no other tool can make as well. So learn to deal with it. If you feel completely intimidated by that, the other approach you can use is mark these with a parting tool. And the parting tool may not be a bad way to start your first couple of boards till you get more comfortable with it.
Hey, I'm the one filming all of this. You probably can't see me, but yeah.
All right, these are examples of two different spindle gouges. This is a typical 3/8 inch bar. This is a forged or stamped from a cheap Chinese set. This is an old style, typically called a continental or even maybe a German gouge. It's about 3/4 across, and it's much more difficult to turn beads and coves of this size with this type of tool. So if this is all you've got in your tool set, you probably need to consider purchasing another tool. So now that we've got some of these marked with a skew or a parting tool, to help us with the symmetry of the bead, to maintain that symmetry, we want to mark the center of each of these. And you don't have to measure these. You can do this close enough by eye. But by marking it off, it'll be a lot easier for you to balance the left side and the right side of the bead. The motion is a three-part movement. You're going to twist the handle, you're going to lift the handle, and you're going to swing the handle. And most of the swing comes in the last third. So if we dry it, that's the motion. You can see there's a lot of wrist action. And it's coming across your body. It's not going to be on the hip. So when you're coming in from the other direction, same thing. The tool needs to move in front of your body. So that leads us to the point of you need to have a fairly short tool handle. This is not a bowl gouge. You don't need a lot of leverage. This handle is 7 inches long. 7 to 10 inches is plenty for a spindle gouge. Longer than that, and you can see it's going to start interfering with clearance in front of your body. Okay, so you're going to anchor the tool, ride the bevel, and we're going to cut from the outside, working our way back to the middle. So we're going to twist, lift, and swing. Lift, twist, and swing. And we successively working our way back to the middle. Lift, twist, and swing. And then we come in from the other side. Again, starting at the corner, lift, twist, and swing. Lift, twist, and swing. Lift, twist, and swing. And you notice when we finish, the tool is going to be approximately 45 degrees to the angle of the lathe bed in the direction of that bead, and you're going to be coming down where the bevel is going to finish that cut inside there at almost 90 degrees. Lift, twist, and then as we get near the last third, that's where we're really having to swing out, and it's coming across the body. Coming on the right hand is not much of a problem for even a longer handle, but you can see here if we had much longer handle, what a challenge it is coming in on the left hand side as we get down in there and it swings across the body. Now a lot of beads I see tend to look like this when they finish. They tend to have flat sides and be fairly steep in the middle, and the reason is they're pushing the cut, but they're not following that circle by that swing all the way around, especially in the last third. So let's watch that again here. Lift, twist, and then as we come further down, we really have to swing that handle. Same thing on the other side, knock off the corner, and then all the action tends to come toward that very last part. It's a good idea when you're first starting to kind of mark a line on marking the side of the cove on each side. Give yourself maybe 1/8 of an inch. You're going to start your cut near the center and work your way back. And there's two different cut styles. Number one is tool's going to be 45 degrees across, just about. The bevel is going to be at 90 degrees, and you're going to enter the cut right with the tip, the tool horizontal, and bracing it with your finger. Going to start in from the center, and then you're going to twist the tool and drop it as you cut through the middle. Then you come in from the other side. And then you just work your way back. Coming up through the middle, stopping when you get to the bottom. Then you got to come in from the other side, and you'll be cutting up end grain. The problem is if you don't hit it exactly straight, it's going to skate. But if you hit it right at the tip, you can make that clean entry cut. The other way you can do it is you're going to drop the handle lower, and instead of entering the cut directly on the point, you're going to slice into it just below center like this. And then you're going to still continue to scoop the cut. Generally you do better if you start at the center and work your way out. Remember, when you get to the bottom of the cove, you got to stop. You're cutting into end grain. Then you got to come in from the other side.